In a city built on engines, steel, and ambition, the richest families of Detroit didn't just chase fortune, they created it. From fur traders who owned the land beneath downtown, to inventors who lit the skyline, to automakers who changed the world, their empires rose from grit and vision. But behind every mansion and marble hall lies a deeper story of rivalry, loss, and the silent weight of legacy. These dynasties shaped a city that once roared louder than any other, only to watch it fall into silence. And yet, their names still echo through its streets, its buildings, its history. This is the untold story of Detroit's old money, where wealth fades, but power endures. In the number 10 position, we begin with a name that built Detroit before Detroit even became a city: the Campau family. Their story starts not with engines or skyscrapers, but with fur, trade, and land. Long before the Motor City roared to life, the Campaus ruled through quiet power, owning the ground others would later build empires on. They weren't industrialists. They were visionaries who understood that true wealth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's buried beneath the streets of a growing city. Bernard Campau and his descendants turned acres of early Detroit soil into fortune, trading beaver pelts and land deeds that stretched for miles. As the world changed, their empire shifted from frontier trade to real estate, from humble cabins to grand estates. But as new fortunes rose from steel and gasoline, the Campau legacy faded into whispers of old wealth. And next comes the family who turned craftsmanship into an empire of elegance. In the number 9 position, we move from the quiet power of land to the precision of craftsmanship, the Boole family. Their story begins in the age of iron and ambition. Christian H. Boole, a German immigrant with little more than skill and grit, arrived in Detroit and transformed steel into legacy. From fine ironworks to the Detroit Stove Works, every piece they forged carried their name, and soon their fortune. But the Booles weren't content with industry alone. They shaped the city itself. Grand buildings, public parks, and charities still bear their imprint. They turned labor into legacy, proving that Detroit's strength wasn't just built by machines, it was built by men who believed in permanence. And yet, as Detroit's skyline rose higher, another family was quietly crafting elegance not from metal, but from hospitality, ambition, and timeless taste. In the number 8 position, we enter a world of marble halls and whispered luxury, the Whitney family. Their fortune began with lumber, the golden backbone of Michigan's early wealth. David Whitney Jr., known as the Lumber King, saw trees not as timber but as the foundation of empires. His company harvested the forests that built America's homes, ships, and skylines, and with that, Detroit gained one of its grandest mansions. The Whitney Mansion still stands today, a haunting monument to excess and endurance. Its stained glass and carved wood speak of an era when money wasn't just earned, it was displayed. Yet behind the opulence was a man driven by precision, calculation, and quiet pride. But as Detroit's industries began to roar, another dynasty emerged, one whose name would echo through engines, speed, and the dawn of America's automobile revolution. In the number 7 position, the sound of saws and steam fades, replaced by the growl of engines. This is the story of the Dodge family. John and Horace Dodge weren't born into luxury. They built it with grease, grit, and genius. Starting as machinists, they crafted engines so reliable that Henry Ford himself depended on them. But when the brothers felt overshadowed, they didn't stay in the shadows. They created their own car, one that bore their name with pride. The Dodge Brothers brand became a symbol of strength, power, and rebellion, cars built not for prestige, but for performance. Yet tragedy struck early. Both brothers died within months of each other, leaving behind an empire and a legend. Their fortune lived on, quietly shaping Detroit's elite circles. And next comes a family whose craftsmanship defined an entire generation of automobiles, built not by dreamers, but by designers. In the number 6 position, elegance meets engineering, the Fisher family. They weren't tycoons of metal or oil, but masters of design. The 7 Fisher brothers began with a single idea, that cars should be more than machines. They should be beautiful. From humble workshops in Detroit, they built Fisher Body, crafting car frames that transformed the automobile into a work of art. Their precision caught the eye of General Motors, which bought the company and made the brothers millionaires many times over. But wealth didn't change them. It refined them. The Fisher Building, Detroit's Cathedral of Commerce, still stands as their masterpiece, gleaming with marble, mosaics, and ambition. They proved that artistry could be as powerful as industry. Yet beyond design and grace, another name was rising. A family that turned electricity, medicine, and invention into a multi-generational symbol of quiet Detroit dominance. In the number 5 position, we meet the Brush family, pioneers who lit Detroit before its skyline ever glowed. Charles Francis Brush was more than an inventor. He was a visionary who brought electric light to the world. His arc lamp illuminated city streets long before Edison's bulb reached homes, and his innovations powered the rise of modern Detroit. But unlike others who chased fame, Brush built his fortune quietly, investing in technology, energy, and the city's growing industries. His inventions laid the groundwork for a new age, one where progress replaced candlelight and innovation became the new currency. The Brush family embodied the intellect behind Detroit's transformation, bridging science and society. Yet, as the world grew brighter, a louder kind of wealth was emerging, forged not in laboratories, but in roaring factories where iron met fire and family names became automotive legends. In the number 4 position, the story shifts from invention to revolution. The Ford family. Henry Ford didn't just build cars, he built a nation on wheels. From a small Detroit workshop came a machine that transformed the world, the Model T. Affordable, reliable, unstoppable. It turned ordinary workers into drivers and Detroit into the capital of modern industry. But behind the innovation lay paradoxes, a man both genius and tyrant, visionary and control freak. Ford's assembly line changed history, but it also changed humanity, demanding precision, discipline, and sacrifice. The family's fortune grew into billions, their name etched into every road, every engine, every dream of mobility. Even today, the Ford dynasty stands as the enduring symbol of American power and persistence. And yet, beyond the factories and fame, another Detroit family was building its empire, this time in steel, strategy, and quiet financial might. In the number 3 position, we turn to a name woven into Detroit's very streets, the Newbury family. John Stoughton Newbury wasn't an industrial showman, but a man of intellect and precision. A lawyer, engineer, and entrepreneur, he built his wealth through railroads, shipping, and manufacturing at a time when Detroit was still defining its future. His ventures in steel and transportation laid the groundwork for the city's economic expansion, connecting commerce across the Great Lakes. But the Newbury legacy wasn't only in business. They became patrons of culture, funding libraries, museums, and universities. Their wealth carried purpose, to educate, to uplift, to endure. In every brick of Detroit's early architecture, their influence still whispers. And yet, as Detroit's industries expanded beyond borders, one family rose higher, their empire built not only on invention, but on daring ambition that turned vision into global reach. In the number 2 position, we enter the age of luxury, ambition, and retail royalty, the Hudson family. Joseph L. Hudson built more than a department store. He built an empire of elegance that defined how Detroit shopped, dressed, and dreamed. His store wasn't just a marketplace, it was an experience, a palace of fashion where chandeliers met polished marble and customer service became an art form. Hudson's vision expanded far beyond commerce. He financed the Michigan Central Station, supported Detroit's charities, and gave the city a sense of pride during its golden years. Even as industries boomed and factories roared, Hudson's fortune flowed quietly through culture and community. But wealth and legacy never stand still. As Detroit's economy shifted toward engines and innovation, one family towered above them all, a dynasty whose name became synonymous with global power, industry, and generational influence that still endures today. In the number 1 position, we arrive at the pinnacle of Detroit's old money, the enduring Ford dynasty. What began with a single engine in a wooden shed became an empire that reshaped the planet. Henry Ford's vision, to make cars affordable for the masses, didn't just create wealth, it created modern America. From the Model T to global assembly plants, his legacy became a symbol of innovation and discipline. The Ford family's fortune transcended generations. They built schools, museums, and foundations, blending philanthropy with power. Yet behind the gleaming cars and family name lay struggles, control, succession, and the weight of a legacy too vast to escape. Even today, the Fords remain Detroit's royal bloodline, old money wrapped in modern metal. And as the city evolves once more, their story reminds us, some dynasties don't just shape history, they become it.